G'day. Changes in the garage.
Now this is a model that Jin, the designer, has always had a soft spot for and wanted to build a small version of this, even 10-15 years ago when they started.
Nice. Just to remind you guys that this consists of my workshop previously. So yeah, it's a slight upgrade to this, isn't it? The reason I've got all this stuff out and I've been sorting stuff out is because of lathe. Yes, I finally have a lathe. It's a Chinese, maybe 20 years old. And I've already successfully used it on a couple of, I'm only learning, but I've successfully used this on a couple of engines, both making a pump seal for the Rider Ericsson made in America from Solar Engines. Pretty happy with this. That repair, first repair from my new lathe. Couple of little rings. Well, I bought 3 rings but only using one. It's running at the proper speed and pumping without sucking in air and blowing the water out the top and overspeeding. Rider Ericsson. And yesterday, I made a little jig to hold the pump from the Microcosm OKMOModels Rider Ericsson. I held the pump here and held it up vertically, and then used this to punch it a bit tighter. I'll show you a bit. Anyway, it's very cool finally having a lathe. For me, it's something I've wanted for a long time. But as usual, most of what you do here is of very little value, but you're doing it a lot. So this machine's probably perfect for me. It's probably not the greatest quality, but then I'm not the greatest engineer. I'm really only learning with this thing. I've had a lot of fun lubricating, tightening, tidying, and checking out what it's capable of. It's pretty complete, really. Yeah, and yeah, I like it. I think I got a reasonable deal through New Zealand's Trade Me here in Christchurch, New Zealand. The very beautiful painted Stirling engine. I'm absolutely loving the brown base, the slightly darker brown than the base over here. I'm loving the firebox and the firebox door. I'm loving the fact that it's got a variable gas intake here. I'm just looking at some of these bits closely. Look at the engineering there. Almost no wiggle in that main beam. Almost no wiggle at all. Which is great to see. There's almost no wiggle in any of these little connections here. Like really no wiggle. So that's actually really impressive. These are not a cheap model.
And this has managed to come over in the packing from China. So we've got people on the internet saying that they do use sewing machine oil with these. Jin would probably suggest that you only use graphite dust with it. Let's have a look what it says. Okay, nothing about lubrication, but generally speaking, you don't want to be sticking stiff oil, and particularly not grease, in a Stirling engine. It's just not going to have the power to do anything about that. Let's have a closer look at the valve gland up here. This can be a point of, this is a critical part. That seal there. That seal is the reason that most of these small engines run too fast. Cat. Dying child. Small Stirling engine. Bigger Stirling engine. Yeah, so that's the PM Research one there. And certainly with the PM Research one, this gland is just, there's not really a gland there, it's just brass. And that lets air and water squirt past it, and that causes the pump to not work, and that causes the engine to run too fast. You'll notice the PM Research one doesn't have a proper firebox either, which is a great shame. And if you have a look at the kind of bearings up here, yeah, it's not of the same quality really. Let's get this beautiful Chinese one running. So this is the plunger and pump assembly, which is not just a simple rod that goes up and down. It is in fact sealed here with a rubber ring. And there's a tiny rubber ring there, and the valve. You can just see the valve popped up there. This is supposed to be a one-way valve. And I've got to clean mine because that is not working. Not getting any pumping. I mean, I'm going to show you my finger beside this. That's some pretty tiny stuff right there, isn't it? So not easy to work with. So this is adjusting the flame. You want it down low. It's low. I'm only moving the adjustment wheel very slightly. Yep. And it does matter whether you close the door or not. If you close the door, it will, if you don't, a lot of heat will come out of here, up at the engine. Right, so that's turned right down. So my testing of this engine has shown that the paint is absolutely capable of taking all sorts of temperatures, including the gas torch temperature that this engine can run on. It's running too fast at the moment. I just need to do a bit of work on the pump. Okay, now part of getting this going, getting it to hold water and not just drain it out, I've been working on the valves in there. And one of the things I did was unsure if there are any ball valves in there. Got these tiny balls from a tiny there's a ball, and there's the ball bearing, what's left of it. The ball bearing's out of a computer fan,
and one of those balls went into there. Now I don't know if that was much help, because I did more work on the other valve in there as well, but yeah, this drop will just hang here, you know, overnight now. It's not going to drain away, and that's a relief, because then you had to just reprime the thing. It's working much better. Okie dokie, we're going to start this up. We're going to see if we can get it running. Actually, you got to do this while you're watching the flame, so let me try that again. I'm just turning that flame down a bit. Okay, so these generally heat up pretty fast. That's with the pump working. That's a good speed. So, yeah, I think it's a model engineer's engine more than a kid's engine. Jin makes plenty of engines, Stirling engines, that would be great for kids, and they cost like tiny money, kids' money, really. Amazing, beautiful little things. But I think this is requires a bit of a deft touch and possibly even an occasional bit of work, as most of the Chinese engines and any model engine. Look, if you bought a second-hand one of these of any scale from eBay, you wouldn't expect any less. If you bought a new one, you might find that, like the PM Research one, it's not perfect. We're model engineers. We need to fiddle occasionally and get it running the way we want. And I think this is a magnificent achievement from Jin. And I enjoy fiddling with it to get it running the way I want, which is exactly like this. Well done, Jin. Work of art.
Oh, about time, huh? Gee. So all it needed was valves checking, valve timing redoing, latch redoing, new carburetor, new batteries, ignition timing rechecking, new piston ring, and a little bit of grease in the latch, new fuel pipe, adjusting that. I think that's about it. Beautiful, it's working really nicely. Really nicely. That's what we like to see. Again, that wouldn't necessarily start when I wanted it to. But that's really nice. That was really nice until it just stopped. Why did you just stop, you silly thing?